Hi, I'm Steve. You can call me Steve. When I was 17, I went on a week-long camping trip to the Canadian Rockies with my high school graduating class. We hiked halfway up a mountain and took pictures of ourselves nestled under the overhang of a glacier. This was in September of 1997. I'm pretty sure that particular spot is no longer anywhere near that glacier because it's melted considerably in the intervening years. This is because the planet has been steadily getting warmer in that time, the continuation of a trend that started long before I was born. Before I get too far into this, I need to quickly review what heat is. I mentioned in the radiation video that heat is a form of radiation found in the infrared region. IR covers a range of wavelengths, which will be important later. If you need a quick refresher, by all means go and give it a quick watch. I'll put the link in the description. Done? Okay, carrying on. Around 1760, humans started digging up and burning large amounts of coal to power the Industrial Revolution. This coal was formed hundreds of millions of years ago from plants that had been covered over with mud and eventually buried under hundreds of meters of rock. The carbon in those plants was removed from the biosphere and locked away. In the early 20th century, we switched from burning coal to burning petroleum for transportation fuel, although there are still plenty of coal-burning power plants today. All of this burning has released that locked-away carbon into the atmosphere as carbon dioxide, where it's been steadily building up. Carbon dioxide, or CO2, is a greenhouse gas, which means it traps atmospheric heat and contributes to the greenhouse effect, warming the planet. Even without CO2, the atmosphere traps infrared radiation of a variety of wavelengths, which makes it possible for life to exist here without freezing during the night. However, there are a few wavelengths that it didn't absorb, allowing photons of those wavelengths to escape. It's like a window where heat gets out. CO2 absorbs in one of those wavelengths, effectively nailing a sheet of plywood across the window. Photons trying to get out will hit a CO2 molecule, get absorbed, and then get spit back out again in a random direction, usually sideways or back towards the ground. They lose a bit of energy in the process as well, which means the new photons will now be at a wavelength that doesn't match the window. So even if they do get spit out in the right direction, they'll quickly get absorbed again. This is well-documented, well-understood science. It's not a Chinese hoax or a ploy by climate scientists to get more research money. The effects of climate change are undeniable. As I'm recording this in July of 2019, Europe is suffering through a record-breaking heat wave with temperatures in the mid-40s Celsius. That's 115 Fahrenheit and above for you Americans. The past 5 years are the hottest ever, and that's directly caused by greenhouse gas emissions. All the extra heat is disrupting the climate and making all sorts of weather events worse, more than just heat waves. The extra thermal energy in the oceans makes hurricanes stronger. Glaciers are melting at record pace. There are even things happening that seem counterintuitive. In Canada, where I live, some of our recent winters have been bitterly cold, which doesn't make sense if the planet is supposed to be warming. However, at the same time, the power steering fluid in my car was congealing in the cold. The North Pole was melting in the middle of Northern Hemisphere winter. All of the cold air that was supposed to be at the pole had been displaced hundreds of kilometers south because the weather patterns that should have kept it in place were disrupted. These are just a few examples of things that are already happening and will continue to happen if something is not done. Anyone who denies the obvious at this point is either willfully ignorant or financially invested in the status quo. I could give you a list of things you could do to combat climate change, but the harsh truth is no matter what you try to do, some rich jackass on the other side of the world will undo all of your efforts. Most pollution is released by industry, and industry has proven incapable of policing itself without externally applied pressure. That's climate change. It's real. It's us. It's bad. But there is hope. We have 11 years now to do something about it before it's irreversible. That means a concerted effort in every country to stop using fossil fuels. This is something that needs to be driven by government policy. Unfortunately, there has been a trend recently of voters electing governments that either outright deny climate change or pay lip service to it without really doing much about it. People have been talking about the need to do something for decades and little has happened. I'm probably preaching to the choir here because my audience tends to skew to the scientifically literate. Some countries, like Sweden and China, are putting serious effort into switching to sustainable energy sources, but there is a lot more that needs to be done. Thanks for watching. I've been Steve.